Chris Fry, Chaplain Fry, the West Lansing Church of Christ, and I'm just here with a good friend from Men's Group. And so, how you doing today, sir? You want to introduce yourself?
I'm doing great, Chris. My name is Tom Shaver. I'm 66 years old. I'm retired from the Lansing Fire Department in 2002 after 25 years. Life is good.
Amen. So, today, maybe you want to share a little bit maybe about like your faith tradition or your beliefs.
Well, I was born again in 1984 after 15 years of doing drugs every day, and God just performed a miracle in my life and changed it like 180 degrees. From one day in the fire department, I was a druggy Tom, and the next day I was St. Thomas, as they referred to me, making fun of me. Yeah.
Amen. So I wanted to just ask you some basic questions about your experiences with chaplains in the fire industry and even in general within just your experiences of witnessing chaplains in the workplace or seeing others talk about that. So let's just jump right in. Have you ever met a chaplain?
Yes, very well. I know one chaplain very well, Reverend Schockhauser from Lansing.
Reverend Schockhauser, okay.
He was all the 25 years I was on the fire department, he was our chaplain.
Okay. So tell me more about that. What was that like meeting him and your experience?
Reverend Schockhauser was the kind of guy that loved everybody, and everybody loved him. He was not the kind of guy that when he came in the room there was intimidation and people had to, watch what they were saying and watch what they were doing. He was the kind of guy that was everybody's friend, but at the same time, everybody knew that guy had a core of Christ in him, and that itself was intimidating to people because, when you get around the light, if you are walking in the darkness, it's a tough place to be. But what he cared about people. He cared about people so much that, we'd have fires in the middle of the night, and they'd call the chaplain over, and, the middle of the 3 o'clock in the morning, and Reverend Schockhauser standing there, kneeling with people that had just lost their house, and or with families of firemen that got hurt, he was just always there, and he was inspiring.
That is inspiring, and I don't know if I met him. There was definitely a chaplain at one of the fallen firefighters I was able to visit in LFD. But that's a big deal to wake up at 3 a.m. I tried to make a barn fire once at that hour, and all the doors were locked, and it's hard for chaplains to be there, and so he was there. That's awesome.
Well, pastors are busy anyway. If only they deal with people in their church. They have all kinds of stuff happening, and to be able to add that, he was also a family man. He had a family, so to come out at all times of day and night, was truly impressive. Great character.
So that chaplain was primarily at LFD.
Primarily, as far as I know, he was only at LFD.
Okay.
He's retired now, but
which is a great department. They definitely work with the schools. I love them.
Yeah.
I only did ride-alongs, but you actually worked there for years, so that's amazing. So what's the impression that you get of chaplains when you hear about the idea of having chaplains?
I think that the first thing that comes to mind is these are the kind of guys that go above and beyond in their compassion and care for people, because they're, normally in that position that he held with the fire department as our chaplain, he was always there at people's worst. Whether it be, he did a lot of funerals for firemen, that asked him to do funerals. He even did some weddings. I guess so that wasn't a bad thing necessarily, but for the most part, it was always, a time of loss, a time of need, and he was the kind of guy that could come in there and just be awesome. I don't only had experience with one chaplain, but he was perfect.
Yeah, it's good to hear. What about the thought you have of military chaplains or police chaplains, which maybe crossed over a little with the fire, and just the idea of chaplains in the workplace? What are your impressions of that?
The only other chaplain that I ever had any, I was in the Navy for 6 years, and at the time I was a heathen, so I never even met a chaplain in the Navy, so I don't have any So the fire department is really the only other thing that I have experience with as far as chaplains.
You think the Navy wasn't at full strength at the time?
Oh no, they had chaplains. I mean,
Okay.
they had pastors and reverends and priests and all of that. I mean, they were around, but it's just not anything that I ever,
It was just hard for them to engage with you guys, or
Well, I don't know if it must have been. I don't know. They never did. I never talked to one.
the normal man,
Yeah.
the good man.
Yeah.
Kind of getting close to the end, but what do you think about the future of the chaplain ministry and the service, to the local church and beyond, like into the workplace, into the traditional places like fire, military, police?
Yeah, I would be sad to think that it would not be something that would not continue to flourish and grow in the future, just simply because of the good that these people do, men and women. And nowadays, especially, the chaplains are involved in caring for people like Reverend Chakars. I never had to. He wasn't ever confronted with the new things that are, all of the social things that happen today, and so hats off to them, man. They do a heck of a job in the hardest of times with people. But it's certainly necessary to take Christ in those areas. Is absolutely necessary.
Amen. I'm hoping to grow too. Like maybe even there's more of an awareness of ministers getting involved in the workplaces, or even people pursuing that as a mission, as a ministry field. So do you think that you'll reach out to another chaplain in the future, maybe?
Oh, I don't know.
Even
It's something I've not thought about.
Whatever you're in.
I've not thought about. I don't have any education or any background in that sort of thing, so it's something I would like to do, though. I mean, I think it's. I don't know. I would like to see him continue.
Well, I'm always available to talk, and also I know there's plenty of ministers in the churches we're in, so that's a blessing. So thank you for your time.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
You betcha, Chris. You betcha.